Okay, so I'm in a really stupidly good mood today. I've been kind of seeing a bunch of different things kind of converge together, and it's amazing, and I'm really excited. So, yesterday, yesterday my brother took my mom to go see my dad at the rehab hospital, and we just left her there all day, and then I was going to pick her up in the evening, and I said since I was going to be over in that area, I wanted to go to my class, which I hadn't been to in a while. The reason I wanted to go to my class was because I've been thinking about like this whole brand thing and trying to figure out, trying to connect with somebody who would be able to help me come up with my logo. It's like I have all these ideas, like a bunch of different things that are kind of coming together that I think need to be a part of it, and I'm really excited about. So I figured I want to go to class, see if anybody might know somebody, because you never know who you can hook up with that way, as far as like people introducing you to other people, all that fun stuff, right? So, yesterday morning, like before I really was up and moving, I was kind of just thinking about the direction I want to go in with my channel and all this stuff, and like the other things that I want to do potentially. Anyway, I got an email and it was spam, but it still got me thinking about the growth element. And I've talked about on here a lot that I've not been huge on growing my channel at this point in time, because I've been trying to figure out what exactly I want from this thing. And it's mainly been, with my healing process, talking things, getting them out of my system, making connections that I wouldn't have realized had I not been talking through things, and making the connections I've been making. So yesterday when I got the spam email, it made me realize that I think I'm ready to start trying to grow the channel a little bit more, right? So the something like 116 people that I've that have subscribed to me in the past year and a half. Well, mostly, the first full year that I was doing this thing, I only got up to 12 because I wasn't trying to grow it. Somewhere in that time frame, or since the 1 year anniversary, once I started like doing videos more, because then the thing was trying to push to 100. Well, now I'm over like 220 some videos, and it's like I think I'm just finally to that point where I'm ready for something more to come together. So spam makes me think growth. I'm already thinking I want to go to class because I want to see if somebody can help me with the logo end of it. And of course, that going in with the spam thing too, was that growth element was the big thing that's kind of the holdup. Is I want to have the logo together and be able to like completely shift over and like do the thing, right? Just throw it all out there. So, on the way to class, traffic was so fucked up. I hit this one roundabout, and going south, where I normally would have, there was all this construction, and it was like one lane, and it just was all sorts of backed up. It's like, well, I'm not going that way, so I went straight through it. Going to go to the next roundabout. Did not know that was also jacked up. And that one had this railroad crossing where the arms were down and flashing, but nothing was coming. So like at one point a cop came through and, held the path a little bit so, people knew they could come through, and then, he kind of backed up, let the other side go through, and then, when he went through for good. Like he was done with it at that point, because he was like, I don't know, probably off duty or going somewhere else. Either way, not trying to hang out there. The holdup made it so I was going to be like at least 15 minutes late to class. And it's like, well, I don't really want to go to class that kind of late. So I started thinking about it. It's like, but I still feel like I'm meant to go to the store. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to the store and I'm not going to go to class. That's fine. I don't know why, but I mean, I don't know what I'm going to be receiving from this space tonight, but I feel like I'm supposed to be there. So I go, and, you know, when I walk in, the guy greets me, and, you know, we start talking a little bit, and he asked how things were going, what was going on. It's like, well, so I was coming here with the intention of going to class, but I feel like I'm not supposed to go to class because I got hung up in traffic, and it was a big hot mess, so I feel like I'm supposed to be here, but not for that. He's like, well, he said that the store was slow, and, you know, it was a perfect time to just kind of take in the atmosphere and see where you're led and all that fun stuff, right? So, yeah, so that's what I did. And, before I got there, as I finally made it through the jacked up railroad crossing, I passed, of course, my number's following me, right? One of the cars that I passed at this intersection that I went through had 819 on the license plate, which of course that one's following me around, and it kept following me around. So, and of course that was after I had made the decision that I was going to the store but not going to class, and then I saw that, and it's like, okay, so we're on the right path. We're just gonna keep going, right? So yeah, so then I talked to the guy and kind of browse around. I end up in the books, and first thing, the book that got my attention, of course, angel numbers. I talk about those a lot anyway, and, you know, just like the crazy repeating numbers that I've been seeing here lately. Of course, I end up in this angel number book section, and let's see, Alana Fairchild is one of the authors that, you know, okay, so I watch a lot of esoteric videos, and she always goes on and on about Alana Fairchild, right? And everything is great. Well, I pick up the book, and of course, it's got 819 in the the little number down there. So it's like, there it is again. Okay. So I pick the book up and I start flipping through it. I've been seeing a lot of threes lately, and ended up, you know, when I was just kind of flipping through, that was one of the first sections that I ended up at. And so I decided to read a little bit, right? And the first thing that I read, because these, for the threes, I see like all sorts of combinations of them, but like, okay, or like numbers of them, but like especially 4 to 6 of them at any given time. So it's not just 333, it's going to be 3333, or, you know, up to 6. And it's been a lot of times where I've been seeing it that way. So it's like, all right, so I'm going to read what this says. And this part says, that is the energy of the ascended masters. If you are noticing multiple threes, something deep within you is about to click. You may or may not be conscious of it, but it is the energy of the ascended masters reaching for you, and my ear is ringing really loud right now, reaching for you and letting you know that you are loved and you don't have to be afraid of anything, and it's okay to just live your life from your heart and be bold in that. You don't have to hide yourself away or make yourself small. Just be who and what you are, and if you need help with any part of that process, ask them for help. When you see 333, the ascended masters are telling you, we want to help, so just ask us and we'll do it. And this other section says, the presence of repeating threes encourages us to ask for help, even if we think we can manage on our own. Right, so it's like, well, that feels pretty relevant. Of course, it doesn't, unfortunately, this one does not have 819 together. It has like mainly combinations of 2 numbers, like, so it has, here, 9 with 8, 9.08, 9/8, yeah, and that is about divine authority, by the way. So, yeah, but anyway, I was hanging out in the books, and I picked this one up because, of course, it's got my number on the back, And then I went straight to something that was completely relevant. I was like, all right, so this might be meant to come with me today. Obviously it was. But of course I was still looking at other things as well. And I got this other book that's really got my attention. Like all these little shiny things. But yeah, I just kept flipping through the pages and like I would look for things and then I'd get distracted by other things, and I came across like one of the pages I flipped to, and that one had a beaver. So strange. Yesterday I had some like errands that I ran earlier in the day, and when I was on my way back home, of course going back on the one-way road, I went over the railroad track and almost hit a damn beaver. It's like, of all places for a fucking beaver. I have never in my life seen a beaver that close to my house before. And there it was in the middle of the road. Scared the shit out of him because he hauled his little ass out of the road, which is a good thing because I barely missed him. But yeah, then because I flipped to it, it made me think about it. And then when the guy checked back in with me and asked me if I was having any luck finding anything, I was like, yeah. I said I just picked up this book and was flipping through. I told him about the 819, but then like with the thing with the seeing a beaver, and I told him that I almost hit the beaver on the way home yesterday. And he said, he made a comment about building something. It's like, yes, because I've been, in brand mode and trying to piece together what it is I want for my journey and my path forward and all this stuff. So yes, that's very much a key thing that I've been thinking through. So yes. But yeah, he repeated the 819 and the mentioned the building things, and it's like when he said building things, it was like that was the thing that really made it register what the purpose of seeing the beaver was in that moment, or in that earlier in the day, and then finding it straight in the book as soon as I was like just flipping through. So yeah. But after that conversation, of course, that's never the end of things with me. I found this cool book that I've been having fun with. Celia Gunn, Animal Totems. And of course, I flipped to see what the beaver meant or talks about in there. And for this one, it talks about achievement. It says keyword, self-assurance, determination, productiveness, and loyalty. Yeah, like that was mainly the relevant thing. But then, because right above that one is bear, that makes me think of my bear picture, right? So that won the contest. So then I'm thinking, okay, so what's the bear mean specifically? Because the bears are obviously important for me here lately as well. So I turn the page because, it starts on the next, or on the page before that. It says bear, self-sufficiency, keywords, introspection, ancient wisdom, self-confidence, and discrimination. It says, many societies throughout the world believe bear to be the ancestor of humans. Honored for more than 10,000 years, this totem has inspired the naming of 2 constellations that revolve around the pole star. Okay, that part's not relevant. Let me get to the other part. There was something in here more that was more relevant. As your totem, bear teaches strength from within, understanding that the answer to every question lies within you. You prefer not to rely on others, but to go within yourself for what you need to know, and also to find your inner strength to do what you need to do and stand up for what you believe in. Finding time to meditate or simply be quiet on your own is important to you, as it gives you the inner space to hatch new ideas and creative endeavors. Your judgment is usually sound and invariably respected. Okay. Bear takes me back to, the video that I did after I won the contest with my bear picture. And when I was, that was the day that my parents had me, I found out I won the contest, and within a half an hour they had me in tears, and I cried the rest of the day because they sucked the life out of the moment for me, right? So, that whole self-sufficiency thing, and realizing that they're just going to suck the life out of whatever it is I tried to come up with for myself, and that's how it's always been. So, just like whatever on the photography endeavor that I may or may not do, the bigger thing is just keeping them out of it, right? And that's been one of the biggest focuses on this whole journey that I'm on and trying to figure things out for myself, is keeping them away from it, because as I've said many times, I was raised to believe that secrets mean you're doing something you're not supposed to do. What I have realized is secrets, like especially from family, they don't like those because it's a means of protecting things that are important. Because if you give them access to things that they don't deserve to have access to, they absolutely will find ways to shit on it. So they don't need access to the things that I'm doing and, figuring out the stuff that I'm getting excited about and actually looking forward to for once in my life. So, they don't get access anymore. That's the big thing. And I'm going to do things, like I've been doing this whole YouTube thing that they don't have any idea about, and they don't need to. Of course, since I talk about them a lot, that's a big part of why they don't need access to it, but, that's, I don't know. Okay. There's like 3 kids walking a dog book, but okay, whatever. Hopefully they stay away from here. Anyway, the other thing that drew me into this book and made me realize I should go ahead and get this book was the section that talks about hawk and falcon, because obviously those are important. Talk about hawks all the time. Oh, and another thing that has been kind of a big thing recently, 3 times I have had 3 different experiences where there has been a large bird of some sort. Once it was a hawk, the other 2 times it was a vulture, where I have watched these big birds have like these smaller birds attacking them and trying to run them out of the area, right? So, and that's like 3 times in a month and a half. The first time was a hawk, and I was at my dad's the first surgery where he was having the eye surgery done, and I think they ended up not even finishing it out because there was something with blood vessels behind his eye that didn't look right, and they had to do something else to see if it was another thing, so it set up another appointment, blah blah blah. Since then, he's had several strokes on both sides of his brain, and has been in since he had the brain surgery to figure out if there was something on that end, they found out they had not the surgery to see what the eye issue was, but like 2 days after he had that specific surgery, which was a brain surgery of sorts, because they took out a chunk of an artery, I think. It was a couple days after that we found out he was having the strokes. But then there's like a lot of different pieces to it where it could have been connected. Basically, the type of strokes that they said he was having, the things that we were looking up were talking about how, I don't even remember. There were like 3 different conditions that he has aside from that that could cause these strokes. So I don't know. Anyway, he hasn't been home since then. And the 2 times that I saw the vulture getting attacked by the smaller birds, he's been at the rehab hospital. But it was still just kind of an interesting experience. That's 3 different situations where, there's my 3s again, where there were like, I wanted to say each time there were 3 smaller birds that were attacking the bigger birds. I'm not going to commit to that one, but I feel like that's kind of not far off. Anyway, Yes, and I've talked about Horus a lot on here too. And, of course, I have Horus necklace because Horus is hugely relevant for my stuff here lately. And Horus is the falcon-headed one. So anyway, so in cultures all over the world, hawk represents the light that illuminates darkness, sacred to the ancient Greek sun god Apollo. Because of its keen eyesight, it was linked with prophecy. In ancient Egypt, it was sacred to the sun god Ra, and its hovering stillness was linked to a fixed star in the heavens. Many cultures use a hawk feather in healing rituals. By the way, in the past week, I found a hawk feather in the yard. It's like, well, actually, my aunt found it. My mom said she found it first, and she, hit it with it. Oh, my God. There's a heron. Also relevant. My mom doesn't like birds and doesn't want any part of touching anything bird related, but she used a stick to stand it up in the yard when she passed it, and my aunt was going through and mentioned it and then told me that it was out there, and then I was like, where's it at? I'm gonna get it, clearly. So this week the hawk feather made an appearance in my life, and it's like, okay, obviously this is all kinds of relevant. So yeah, anyway, hawk is a powerful totem of a person who is a born leader. What the hell, man? There's somebody over here parking next to me. I might have to move. Hawk is the powerful totem of a person who is a born leader. If hawk is your totem animal, you've probably experienced powerful dreams and visions since you were a child. True. An extremely spiritual perspective allows you to readily access higher levels of consciousness, yet you have an eye for detail. As your judgment is clear, you often take the initiative. Other people don't understand you or your ideas or your actions, but no one can tell you how to think or behave. Well, I mean, and that's on page 77, but not as relevant for the conversation so far. But anyway, when hawk catches your attention, be aware that a powerful message is coming. New powers, such as visionary abilities, may be about to be awakened in you. Perhaps you doubt yourself or need to stand back from a situation or relationship and look at it in a different light. Maybe emotions have clouded your vision, or plans have not worked out and you need to take time to look them over and go with the flow. Hawk helps you see things from a new perspective and to balance your energy. Heron, since it's right here. Heron has to do with hidden wisdom. Keywords: vigilance, independence, balance, and ancient knowledge. With Heron as your totem, you are probably unconventional. Traditional roles do not appeal to you, so you see yourself as unique and with your own path to follow. Yes. Your intuition is strong, and the opinions of others are of little interest to you unless they have information that resonates deeply with you. Balanced person, you have your own way of doing things. You're adept to seeing and seizing opportunities. If Heron has appeared to you in a special way, you are being reminded that all answers, all wisdom come from within. Perhaps you've been swayed too much by what others have to say, or have become too reliant on someone else. Heron can assist you with finding your own way through life through being observant and listening to the teacher within you, your intuition. God, so oh my God, all of these. Oh my God. I'm just so glad I got this book. Anyway. While I was looking at books, I ended up on the floor in this one section and was flipping through these Egyptian shamanism type books. One of them I discovered I already ordered from another bookstore this week and it should be here anytime. Another one I really thought about getting because it had probably the most Horus related information of any that I've found so far. Of course, granted, I haven't spent huge amounts of time looking at it, but it was still really interesting. And the book that I was flipping through was talking about Horus and serving as a means to bridge duality, which is spend a lot of time talking about bridging dualities and whatnot on here. So, of course, going back to that whole twin flame thing, and the purpose of the twin flame journey is bridging the dualities, but it starts within yourself first, right? So bridging the masculine and feminine aspect of yourself. So for my entire life, where I was taught to believe that, to be a girl meant this, this, and this, and you couldn't do this, and blah, blah, blah. All the bad bullshit ideas. And what I found was I was very much flowing in all these spaces and losing myself, right? Getting swept up with what other people were saying to me, or swept up in their emotions, that I was able, with all these damn cancer placements, I was able to pick up on the feelings and things. So I picked up all these feelings that weren't mine, but thought that since I was picking up on them, that somehow meant they were mine to fix. But it didn't. But I didn't figure that out until the past few years. A couple years in particular. I've talked about the visions that I had on here back when I was a senior in high school. There was the one where my friend Tyler our group was going to go our separate ways for a time, and then it would be his death in our mid-30s that brought the group back together for a time. Then that happened. He died at 34, 10 days after I turned 35, and it was a big traumatic thing. The next one was that I was going to be 40 before I would start to make sense of everything. And then, when I hit 40, I talked about the intention setting that I started doing, and, things I started to connect because of the intentions I was setting, and trying to gain clarity on things. And then the other one was the 5 guys that I talked about knowing. I always saw this group of 5 guys, and I knew that we were somehow here to change the world together. What exactly that meant, I'm figuring it out. But yeah, I've touched on those stories enough that I don't know that this is where I want to touch on that again further. But just with the different things that I've been learning about, that connection, the group of guys. It's a band. And I'm confident we will all be in each other's lives in the not too distant future. The rest of those details, I don't really know, obviously. But I know I've been seeing them since I was 18 years old. And I just kind of, set it aside, because the only thing I had to make sense of it was, the comparison of the group that I was around when I first had the vision. But then I've talked about how I knew that group wasn't it either, because, the one guy hated me, another guy was just kind of aloof to me, and it's no, this is a group that's going to be all of them are going to be very important to me, and we're all going to get along. But when I figured out who the group was, I got introduced to their music, and they were going to be at a concert for a different group that I loved and had followed for years and wanted to go to that concert. So I was yeah, all right, I'll listen to these guys. And I was fuck yeah, I love this stuff, right? But then what ended up happening was this whole activation thing, this twin flame thing that started basically forcing me to clear out the stuff that wasn't working in my life, and making sense of the things, coming to terms with the fact that my parents have not been supportive of the things that I've done, and have been the biggest thing, or the biggest block keeping me from really being able to pursue creative outlets, to any degree, because it's anything that I would have been able to put my heart into, it's my family was the thing standing in the way. It's like, like the drumline contest we won my senior year in high school, and my mom approached me, and when I was trying to swallow my pride, the first thing out of her mouth was, I deserve this as much as you do. So it's like, okay, hold on. Okay, there's a dude walking behind my car, so that is now climbing up playground equipment. He's like 60s at least, if not 70s. Whatever. Anyway, I think those are like killdeer birds. And man, they're chatty. Anyway, so yeah, because of things like that, it's like anytime I found any kind of creative outlet, I sabotaged myself because I knew they were going to hijack it in some kind of way. And I didn't want any part of that, right? So, excuse me. So yeah, it's like going back to the cardinal that I've talked on here, that I, the one that builds its nest in the rose bush right in front of our picture window, and it's like, that's a really bad place for a nest, and it soon found that after it had already laid an egg. But then after a couple days of being there, when it realized it was a bad place to lay the egg, it kicked the egg out of the nest and abandoned it completely, like the whole nest. And we haven't seen it since. And I realized that it's like, that was the universe teaching me that was exactly what I've always been doing in my lifetime, because I don't want them to fuck it up for me, right? So since I knew they would, I just tried to steer clear of anything on that end in general. And so creativity was, completely off. I was unable to, I just went into self-sabotage on everything. He is still playing on this fucking equipment. Okay. But yeah, like the writing, I've talked about that, and then I have links on my vocal media stuff that I posted a few years ago. It's like, even then, it's like, some of it I liked. Like there were a couple poems that I wrote that I posted out there that I really liked. But there were like the longer things. It's like, I would intentionally resist going past a certain point, like as far as connecting to it, because I just automatically assumed that I wasn't good enough to do X, Y, or Z, and therefore, since I was already thinking that way, what I was doing was acting in a way that set it up where I wasn't going to, like, you're not going to win a contest with something that sucks because it sucks, right? But the self-fulfilling prophecy, I really wish those birds would shut the fuck up. Man. Anyway, it's raining in my window, so I should probably roll the windows up anyway. Yeah, so where's that button? What was I talking about? Turn the auxiliary thing on so I could roll the windows up part of the way, and then almost shut the video off instead of turning that off on the car. Anyway, don't mind me. Yeah, but like, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy bit, right? So I believed I wasn't good enough, and my family basically reinforced that idea that I wasn't good enough to do anything with like these various things. So I set it up so I couldn't do better, because I was expecting the worst always. So it's like, you're not going to win something if you can't fully give yourself over to the process of the flow and all that fun stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so going back to, I was sitting on the floor in this section of books, like talking about Egyptian shamanism stuff, and as I'm sitting there, another lady that's working in the store comes over, and she starts to talk or she asked, if I'm having any luck and if I'm finding anything, if I want her to set anything aside for me. It's like, yeah, said right now I'm just trying to figure this out, right? So we kind of started talking. She said, I think the guy that works in the store was talking to her about like crystals and trying to get into, like reading using crystals, because that's not something they have a lot of people that utilize that particular thing. So, so we were kind of talking about that, and then I mentioned the shamanism books that I was reading, and then okay, I showed her, of course, my little tattoo, and said that Annie, the one that teaches a class, had told me, or had said it in class one day, that if you are drawn to to skulls, it's because you've had another life as a shaman. So it's like, so that started a whole thing. So I told her, it's like, well, so I got this freaking tattoo. It's like, obviously they are relevant for me in some kind of way, which starts this other conversation or this little path of the conversation. She says she has a bunch of little crystals that are in the shape of skulls, and she's got a bunch of them, and she's never really felt particularly drawn to them. So now she's going to bring those in for me on Wednesday because I obviously am into skulls, right? So then, we kind of have a little bit of a back and forth, and I mentioned something about Horus, and, pointed out the necklace and the earrings I had on yesterday were my Horus earrings, and she said, that's funny because I've always been drawn to Ra. And it's like, interesting. It's like just the connections in this conversation. It's like, where are we going with this? This is interesting, right? But since we're having like this good conversation, and it was kind of like, it wasn't just like the entire time. It was just like she'd come over, we'd talk a little bit, and then she'd walk away and let me look, and then, we were just kind of back and forth with that. And she was talking about the different things that were like the weird synchronicities, because of course she's been looking at her crystals and thinking she's not connected to these skulls, and then here I am and I mentioned the skulls and then like it's this whole thing. So yeah, I ended up getting these 3 books and a couple bracelets, which there was another bracelet, I did not get it, but that had 819 in the the number on it too. And I was like, but I already have that one. I don't need another one of those. Which I didn't really need. The other 2 that I got, well, I mean, the one's a golden rutile quartz. And it's just like, there's something about this. It's 3434 was the number on that one. And 34, of course, being the age Tyler was when he died, and of course I see that one a lot, and just pops up in weird places. The first day that Annie said, okay, the first numbers I realized was Tyler communicating with me was 719, because that was the date he died, 719. It was 7/19, 2018. So yeah, and there's been more details on that too, but I've shared those in other stories, and I will put the full story together one of these days. It's in process, but yeah, like I had a reading with Annie after I was seeing 719, and she said that's one of the numbers that he will use to communicate with you. Also, birth date and however old he was when he died, and I said he was 34. And then I go out to my car and realize that's on my license plate, and it's like, oh, so he's with me all the time, right? Which is funny because on the way to the store last night, I passed a guy that was walking, and it's like, that dude looks like Tyler. And then every now and then I have that where somebody just really reminds me of him. It's like, and of course I see his numbers all the time, so yeah. Anyway, when I finally went to leave the store, that lady was leaving too, and we walked out together, and she made sure I was going to be there the next Wednesday, and, said she'd bring them and all this stuff. I was like, okay. I said, just going out on a limb here because of the nature of this entire conversation and the way this evening has gone. I said, you wouldn't happen to know of anybody that, any like artists or any thing do you? And she said, well, yeah, a page that, was in the store also today or yesterday. She said she used to be a tattoo artist. It's like, what the fuck? Okay. So on the way in, I had a thought that was kind of loosely in my brain where I had thought page on the way in. But I didn't connect with the thought at that point in time, and it is 5:55 on the clock, as I'm talking about this anyway. But yeah, so I had thought loosely about her. I had also thought, if nobody else, I thought, it's like, if nothing else, it's like, okay, I feel pretty strongly that I would like another woman to assist on this creative endeavor. And I started thinking about, I could like look up different like tattoo shops and, see about going into one of those and talking to somebody about if they could come up with this thing for me, that honestly, since it's going to be something that is like huge for me and I already know this, I feel like I am pretty confident I will have somebody tattoo it on me at one point in time, or at some point in time. But, obviously we're a little ways away from that, and I still got to put all the rest of these details together, right? But I had been thinking that maybe I would see, or I could always look up like tattoo shops with female artists and connect with them. Well, then I'm in the store and this other lady refers me back to this girl and says that she was a tattoo artist for a while. It's like, huh. But apparently she's getting ready to like move far away, and that will suck. But, for what I need, it's like, this could be like mainly online stuff anyway, right? So this is kind of exciting, right? So I go back in and I talk to the girl, and, I'm telling her all of the things that I have. I have the simple image of what I want I have a picture on my phone, and I showed her, and I said, I cannot get the font right on this at all. I said, there's lots of other little details I want to add into it that are really important to me, but I really like the font is something that I was really hung up on. And it's like, yeah, so conveniently, fonts are one of the things she's really into. But she said that she gave me her Instagram and told me to send her a message and, send her some pictures and whatnot. And it's like, all right. So I sent her a message today, and well, Instagram only lets you send so much, so now I gotta wait till she responds before I can send anything else. But it was still just like the whole series of events yesterday was just like, whoa. And even then, the guy that worked in there, I think his name's Justin. At least that's the name that's on the receipt that I looked at earlier. And I don't remember the other lady's name. But like those two, at one point, I overheard them talking about something, and Justin was saying something about clearing the old out to make space for the new to flow in. That's what I was doing yesterday. That's how I started my day, was I put all the shit in the car that I was ready to get rid of, including that damn sweatsuit that has been the bane of my existence, right? That damn porcelain doll that has been driving me nuts. And karate stuff that I had in here for like over a month that I was just waiting to get out of here. So like I had called a place and they said they would take it, but then it was a matter of getting over there and remembering that it was in the car, because I completely forgot I'd thrown it in the back of this thing until the other day when I was putting the other stuff in to get ready to take it out. So yesterday I went up to the place that is connected with domestic violence programs. I've talked about it was really important to me that it wasn't connected to a church, and churches are usually, yes, we're church affiliated, give us your things, right? So it's like, yeah, like the one place that is closer that my family sends stuff to a lot talks about like the local pastor that's kind of overseeing everything. It's like, yeah, I don't want that. And I've talked about that various other videos on here as well, but that was something I didn't want to do, right? So, I went up to the place that's connected with the domestic violence place, or stuff, gave them all my stuff. Not the doll. The doll, I was thinking, I should take this to a pawn shop, maybe it's worth something. Then I called the karate place, and they said they would take it, but they were out of the store at the moment running errands. It's like, all right, no big deal, kill some time. So I went to the pawn shop, and I was pretty sure they weren't going to take it. And the girl says, can I see it? And I showed it to her, and she said she's got a closet full of porcelain dolls, and I really need to investigate to see if it has more value. And she started throwing out some stuff and said this one's worth at least $20,000. It's like, not entirely sure that I necessarily believe that per se, but until I've looked it up more, it's worth. It's like, okay, so this thing that always kind of bothered me, because it's this thing that I didn't really like and couldn't do anything with. It just has been in the closet forever, and then just some of the things the girl was saying too, and she's like, well, unless you just really want to get rid of it, but that would tell me all I need to know about you as a person. It's like, interesting, and does it? It's like, I don't know. What I was thinking was, maybe it is worth enough to be the thing to get me started in a new direction. Like, give me a new start in life, right? So, like, all the things that haven't been working out, maybe it would be something that there would be enough value in that it would be able to, have that. But then, it's like, I don't like the thing, but just porcelain dolls creep me out. But if it has enough value, then ultimately, my parents or my grandparents did something good by me, even if it was something I resented for a time anyway, right? Anyway, it gave me something to think about. It's back in the closet. The other shit is gone. And then I was having these conversations with these people because I got old out of the way and it let new flow in, right? So I was all excited, and it was just like a whole big long thing that there was just a lot of stuff like that. Excuse me. So another thing that happened was kind of, Gracie stayed all night last night, and my brother brought her over. Okay, first off, I griped about my uncle on here the other day and said there was something about him. He just does not sit right with me anymore. It's like, I don't even know what it is. He bothers me. And thank God he lives in another state, and I don't have to deal with him more often, because he just really bothers me, and I don't know why. Well, then my mom tells us some things that apparently his whole family is ready for him to go home because he's sketchy as fuck. Like, one thing she was talking about was, she talked to the second to youngest brother's wife for a while, which she's the one that every time I'm around her now, it just goes on and on about how much she loves me and loves my energy and all these things. And we didn't used to have any kind of connection, and I still, small doses, she's all right, but she always just goes on and on about my energy and being around me. And apparently she called my mom and talked to her for a bit yesterday and was giving her the whole spiel. And apparently the uncle who's up here has a longtime girlfriend, which we all knew this. Everybody likes the longtime girlfriend, who's 80 and has had a couple different types of cancer and a bunch of other stuff that she's got going on health problem wise. And my uncle's up here fucking around with somebody. It's like, I knew there was something that bothered me about him a lot. It's like a whole lot, and apparently to the extent of he took her on this dinner with a bunch of his siblings and had her sit next to the girlfriend, or whatever this girlfriend connection is, the one that's not not down there, but the one up here. He had her sit next to my aunt who lost her husband last year, so he could take a picture of them together and carry a picture of this girl or this woman on his phone and it be okay. Because, yeah. It's like, yeah, that's gross. And there was like a few things, and it's just like, I knew I didn't like him. It's like I didn't know what it was, but it was bothering me, and it's like I just don't like being around him, don't want any part of that. And then every time he was coming around, it's like he's fishing for trying to get that damn truck, and it was like, no. Which he and the second line, the oldest daughter, and second in the line of 6, they came over to pick something up that he'd ordered, like these gummies that are supposed to help with the eyes in some kind of way. Ordered them for my dad, and they just came in sometime in the time my dad's been in the hospital, but then he wanted those back. It's like, okay, this is a whole weird thing. Anyway, I haven't been dying to be around him, but since I was running errands, I said I thought I should be back at the house by 3, which was when he was planning on being there. But I said, just in case, I said I went ahead and put them in the camper door. I said that I left the camper unlocked, so, they're right there. And he said, the sister had something that's supposed to be in a cooler that she was going to leave. It's like, well, just put it there, I'll get it. And it's like, I will literally get it, like, soon. So it's not going to be there for, like, hours or whatever, because it's like that Manjaro or whatever. She isn't going to use it or whatever, and was giving it to my mom. So, yeah, so he's like, well, it has to be refrigerated. And then he said they brought it in a cooler, and it's like, fine. It would have been fine, because I think I missed him by like 5 minutes, maybe. And yeah, it was just a whole weird thing, but it's like, oh, I just knew I didn't like him. In that video I talked about him the other day, and I was just telling him off, and no, you don't get the fucking truck and all that stuff. It's funny, I feel like there's something to speaking to the energy, because he hasn't asked about it any further beyond that point. And he was asking nonstop before then. It was like, and the truck was even still there while I was gone, so he would have known that I, was either, he knew that the other vehicle was working or something, so I don't know, whatever. My brother and I, when my mom's telling us all these things, and we're just kind of making jokes. He's like, I knew I didn't like that dude. He just kind of looked at me. It's like, I said he was bothering me the last several times I've been around him. He's really bothered me, and I just didn't know why. And it's like, but that explains a big part of, why. And then, he's talking about, why would he do this to the girlfriend? And my mom said he made some kind of comment about, well, she's 80. And she said, but you would have thought he would have known that when, he's dating somebody so substantially older than he is. And then my brother said something about her because everybody likes her. And I was just kind of like, I mean, yeah, but when you're expecting her to die off before, and she's not giving you the courtesy of dying so you can have the stuff, it's like, it's like, yeah, there's a whole lot of shady shit there. But yeah, just like, oh, me and my brother were playing off of each other so well in that conversation too. But like, when we get our devious streaks going, it's fun. And my mom, he said something about my mom and the comments she makes about them moving and taking Gracie away from her. And she said, well, you are, and blah, blah, blah. She started in on something. I said, you know what this makes me think? I said, this makes me feel a whole lot with this conversation, especially with Mom feeling like she has so much that she must say in regards to this. It just seems like a whole lot of... And then he was laughing, and she gave me a dirty look, and like she was like bitching at me when he laughed. It's like, yep, irrelevant. God, tomorrow, the father is coming home. Goody. And my mom made a comment today when my brother was picking the kid up about who wants to go pick up Dad tomorrow, and nobody jumped on it. I was like, crickets. Neither one of us said anything. We were looking at our phones and not paying her any attention. And then, like, she kept bringing it up. And I said, she's like, well, you still haven't told me who's going to pick that up tomorrow. And it's like, I assume it'll get handled. I said, I don't think it's that big of a deal where if you're wanting us to just, like, be so excited that he's coming home when there's all these complicated issues that it's also bringing up further. It's like, we're not going to be excited about, having to go out of our way and tell you right now who's going to do the thing tomorrow. It's like, it'll get done. Just deal with it. It's like, we're just not going to give you that information right now. So, yeah. There were kids there. Now it's just a swing blowing in the breeze. What else? God, I'm in such a good mood today. And there again, just that little bit of time clearing stuff out of the space. And because, like, there have been boxes ready to go to Goodwill or wherever the fuck we were going to take it for a while. And then it's like, when I was throwing in clothes that I like better, like, if it's just like some shitty thing that I don't want, then I have no problem giving it to Goodwill just to get it out of the space quicker. If it's stuff that's still got tags on it even, and then it's in really good shape, I would rather it go somewhere else that's not part of this. Well, I mean, they talk about all the good they do, but I've heard not so good things about them too. So it's like, yeah, I'd rather this other place, even if it takes 20 minutes longer to get there, it's like a 45-minute drive. I would rather do that if it's actually going to go to a more worthwhile situation. However, if it's just junk that I want out of the way, then I'll just give it to the other place. But since I had the boxes to go along with the clothes that were in good shape, but I still didn't want anymore. I was wanting to take those to the place that helps domestic violence victims rather than the other shit, right? So they just got all of the stuff, and there's like a box of movies, a box of CDs, those fucking CDs that I was trying to, okay, the story with the CDs, y'all. Back in the fall, I had this, God, there was like at least 80 CDs, and there's like Christian music, and I listened to the shit out of it years ago. I haven't listened to it in a long time. I still will listen to some of those names, but not the same kind of stuff because I don't feel the same way about the overall messages that they're communicating. I'm all about the God aspect, and there's something more. I am not all about the Jesus is the way. It's like, kind of, but you fucked that story up so much that it doesn't, it's not what you think it is. Right. But the issue with the CDs, I had this box of like 80 plus CDs, and most of them, many of them were pristine condition. The ones that weren't still played well the last several times I listened to them. So it was whatever, and I said, I gave a selection, took a lot of pictures of what was in there, and had some people that contacted me. Not a whole lot. One dude was like, well, if you're ever in my area, but he said he wanted them, but not badly enough to, make the drive for a box of CDs that I had for $35 or whatever. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm never up in Lafayette, so there was one time where it almost became a possibility, but then it fell through on his end. Like, he didn't even respond to the thing, because I had to go pick up my my little elephant that I painted with the friend that is no longer a friend from Derby. We painted these little ceramics things the last time I'd been up there, and I needed to go pick it up. So I told the guy, it's like, well, if you can meet me over here, and he said, as long as it doesn't fall in a day, he has appointments or whatever. So I was working around that, and he ended up never commenting again about it. So it's like, fuck it, off the list. Another guy wanted to pick and choose of these CDs, And it became this big ordeal about, I had 2 people that wanted me to ship them to them. One girl was like, well, how much would it be to ship it to you? It's like, I'm pretty confident it's going to be more than it's going to be worth it. Because it was like, I'm thinking she was like an hour and a half away from me. But she wanted me to ship them. It was like, that distance would have cost like, I said it starts at $35. Actually. No, let's be accurate. It actually started at $33.30 because that's one of those numbers. And I remember looking at it and being like, there it is again. Of course. So then, I said starting at 35 because I was factoring in that this is effort for me to exert on this thing that is not that important to me. So it's like, you're looking at a good $75 or whatever on this whole me packaging things and redoing it and shipping it out there and all that stuff. I said that it is no longer $30 if you want me to ship it to you. And so of course she didn't want it either. Another guy pops in with, wanting me to, send the little thing on the back of the CD that has the lineup of the musicians that played in that version of the band or whatever. And it's like, this is a lot of effort when you can just look up the damn CD. Because, I showed you what the title is and all that stuff. It's like, you could look that up easily. He's trying to get me to jump through all these hoops for him. And then he's talking about he wants these and not these. I said, you realize, I said, the $35 is off the table now because you are wanting me to do all this or put forth all this effort in getting this shit for you for free labor. It's like, no. I said, this is already wasting my time, because I took some pictures of like the actual fronts of the CDs and backs of a few of them, not of all of them, but just like of the, he's like, oh, of David Crowder band or whatever. It's like, who's in this? It's like, okay, what up? I can take a simple picture and send it to you that way. It's like, I'm not looking up all this stupid shit that you could have access to just by knowing the title of the CD or, whatever, a little bit. So it's like, as soon as he found out that I was going to charge him anything other than the $30, and it was supposed to come down from the $30, right? Because he's having me jump through all these hoops, but he's not taking the full amount. It's like, no. I said, dude, the only reason I have them listed for $35 for this whole mess of them is because I don't want them, and I thought it would make them leave my space sooner. I said, so far, I said, you're just proving that this is way more complicated than I'm really interested in spending the effort for. I said, so you're no longer looking at that price because you want me to jump through all these hoops and pick and choose these certain ones and send them to you. I said, we're not looking at that price anymore. So he says, well, I'm not interested in it then. It's like, exactly. So I'm going to chuck them in the fucking trash can at this point because it's better than dealing with the damn Christians that keep popping up with the interest in them and wanting you to jump through hoops to cater to their bullshit and not do a damn thing to invest in, to make it worthwhile, right? And it's like, that's literally like that, like even with my family, it's like, that is exactly where the divine flow gets choked off at. Because then you get like, okay, like the assholes in the government who want all your money and make you like go through a ridiculous amount of bullshit to, live on breadcrumbs, even though, you're making this money and yet having to pay for dumb shit. So dipshit in office can go have his little golf trips or whatever. It's like, it's like this whole fucking system is bullshit. It's like those things right there. It's like they are where the flow gets choked. It's like the divine has like all the money in the world and like will, as long as you are open, the divine will flow through whatever you need when you need it. That is the biggest thing I'm learning. It's like, I have these little things that I got a little carried away with some online shopping and paying for things, and it has not let me down every single time I have payments due. I have some sort of little job that pops up that I can do to make, like the dog sitting or, The fact that Gracie's still in town, so I'm still getting paid to hang out with her when she's around. So it's like, these kind of things. It's like, I was thinking about that yesterday. I think that's part of why my brother, his family's move is stagnating like it is. Yes, my mom's sending it negative energy, but at the same time, it's kind of useful for me to have this available, and until these other things line up, it's like it's coming together. But since like some of the pieces are still up in the air, Divine has access to, bringing it in however. So it's like, okay, I keep seeing it without fail when I have something to pay for right away. It's like right there. And like, that was, for pet sitting this last time around, and for taking them to and from the airport. It's like, that was enough to pay a couple of those things. So more than a couple. The big thing that I was concerned about was the storage facility, because my rent was due on May 31st to have the next month of the storage. So it's like, that was like one of the first things I did. It's like, I paid the one that was due the day before, that I didn't get paid the day it was due, but it came the next day. So it was like still right there, and it worked out. And then, there's more, but then I'll have the Gracie stuff from the respite care gig this weekend. And, then she ends up deciding she wants to have a sleepover last night, and then spent the day with me today. So it's like, okay. So it's like the things that I have that I am concerned about momentarily, it's like, it's always right there. All I have to do is remain open and clear out the old. But it's like clearing out the old, then yesterday happened like it did, and like all these pieces came together exactly, beautifully. Like, there's no way I could have like expected any of that to work out the way it did, and just, like, I started thinking that I wanted to go to class, but mainly it was, I didn't really want to spend extra time at the rehab place with my parents, because that's always awkward. And plus I ended up not having my headphones in the little bit that I was there, which I don't like doing that, because then I have to listen to the drama and negativity. So yeah, it's like, but then like when traffic was fucked up, then it's like, okay, well, so maybe I just don't want to go to class. But then I have these amazing conversations with people, and, like, reaffirm, like, all these things that were coming together otherwise, and, like, that I got rid of some junk, and then this other stuff that I'm looking forward to was able to flow in, right? So, like, the help on the logo, right? So, I don't know. But finally, just like, I sent her a list of things. It's like, I said, I'm trying not to make this overly convoluted, but at the same time, I have some specific things that I really want to include in it. So it's like, but I could only send her so much of it, so then I was journaling other details and trying to make other connections for the bigger thing, and, thinking, like, how much is it going to be to like get a trademark on this thing and all this fun stuff, right? So like looking into that kind of stuff, it's like, ooh, so much. But even that, it's like, I got part of what started the morning part of the morning thought process was wanting to consider growing the channel intentionally now. And, that started with the spam thing, and then it was like, it wasn't because the spam thing was what I'm supposed to be doing. It was just the spam thing was to get the idea about, I think I'm ready to start working towards growing it, right? So then I've been watching videos today with ways to do that, right? And different things to avoid, to, not come across as a bot or whatever. But like, it's like everything I've done in the past year and a half to be able to get to this point where I'm actually talking about wanting to grow it. When I started out, I cried at the first 3 subscribers because it was like, what if I can't do this? And then it was just through doing it a little bit, every little bit. And it wasn't a whole lot, like once I started, I get like 1 or 2, maybe up to 3 in a week, but it was, I always would spend like 45 minutes pissing around with anxiety about doing the thing and being afraid to do the thing. So then it was like, oh, what do I do? I'm just, like one thing I was watching somebody talk about earlier was talking about like tags and not over tagging things, and also just different things like that. And so I don't remember why I brought that up. Because I have, actually, doing little hashtags and whatnot. It's like, mainly my thing's just been, I will tag people as I talk about things that they talk about. And then, a lot of times it's like the narcissistic family issues and healing from narcissistic abuse kind of things. But it's like tagging specifically like Dr. Romney, Jerry Wise, and Richard Grannon, because they are more into that. I mean, that's their niche, if you will. But it's like, I'm not talking about it at the same level, because I'm just talking about like what I've learned from them and my lived experiences and why I'm navigating through 111. And then, yeah, and like the tarot readings, I talk about those. I tag those people a lot. Just like people that I specifically mention. But, then I was just thinking about like different, the search engine optimization stuff to actually, there's 3 girls riding around on a golf cart, and they just like slowed down and were looking at me. Anyway, like middle school kids. So anyway, yeah, but like actually thinking about tagging specific words or themes as points on the thing. I like synchronicity. I'll talk about that a lot. But then it's like, okay, so I talk about a lot of these things, but sometimes, okay, like the last video I did, it was like the first 40 minutes was really slow, and it took some time getting into it. But then I was thinking, it's like, that goes back to the transmuting point, because that is, I pick up the dense energies in the environment, and I'm here to transmute those, right? So a lot of times I can do that through skating, or painting and creative outlet stuff. It's like, so if I start here, then it starts really slow. And it's not that the content, isn't, the starting content is usually really hard to get through because it's just so slow. But it's like, once I get into it, it's like speaking it out is a means of clearing it out of my system too. So it's like there's so much of that has to happen, and I think that's part of this necessary journey of this as well, has been to learn that about myself, because that is something that I've learned in this process, that I absorb the density in the environment because then I have to do something, I'm supposed to do something with it to alchemize it into something better and something different and something lighter, right? So whether that's, painting my frames or whatever, or skating it out of my system and thinking that way, goes back to like my walls, right? So when I was painting my room, back when it was my office, it started because I realized there was a disaster on the wall, and my dad had like put like 16 holes trying to hang up this DVD cabinet, and then I forgot all about it because it was hung up. But then when I moved it, I saw the holes, and it's like, well, I can't leave that way. That looks like shit. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to repaint. But then I didn't have any more of that paint. So what was I going to do? And I was like, well, I don't have any more of that color, but I do have a lot of little cans of different colors, so then that became a thing. It's like the first wall, it was chaotic when I started it because I didn't really know what I was doing. And then at some point I was like, I'm going to put a tree on this wall because I painted a tree once and I kind of liked how it turned out. So I put a tree on the wall, but then like the way the colors kind of blended together. And then I got to one point where I was like, it's not done. And then I started just like throwing paint at the walls, like from the paintbrush and having like little splatters everywhere. It's like, ooh, I like this, and that became like this thing that I really enjoyed doing. And that's exactly what it was getting the chaos out of my system, right? But when I did the first wall and a half, it was mainly to fix the hot mess. And I wasn't going to paint all of it. But then as I got started, and started doing it further, then it was like, I think I want to continue this, so I kept going. But when I didn't take the time to clear the dense energy from spending time with my family out of my system, then what ended up on the walls was like absolute chaos, like even beyond the chaotic mess that I had already gotten from the other stuff. It was like so much more chaotic. And it was like, that's literally, it's like this is what's in my system. It's like finally being able to see it outside of my system. It's like, that was huge. But then it made me realize, it's like, that's why I've gotten stuck on all this shit all these years. It's like, because the chaos that was in my system, I didn't have anywhere to go with it because I wasn't doing any creative projects or anything. It was just there in my system. So what do I do with this? Well, now I have answers, right? But if I do a video like I did the other day and it's really, really slow starting out and takes a really long time to get to where I need it to go, it's like, I'm going to get to the good stuff eventually. But it's like there's so much talking it out of my system that has to happen, and that takes longer than if I were to go skate for an hour beforehand or something. Just get it out of my system that way, or just go paint something, So I have outlets, and I have things I got to work on. But yeah, it's like no wonder my vision from when I was this high school kid, 18 years old, right? Summer I turned 19, right? So, that second vision was that I was going to be 40 before it started making sense, because I've been collecting the chaos, and now that I'm getting it out of my system, now it's making more sense. And now it's like we're making room for the flow and allowing that to be the thing that's helping with this process as well. And I'm getting all bubbly again. So yeah, I mean, not that that's a problem, but I don't know if there's really anything else I need to talk about in this one. I left. Sorry, let me just clear all this shit off my freaking phone while I'm at it. I was leaving to get gas, and my mom requested a Diet Coke on the way back, and it's like, well, I didn't tell her I was running an errand in the meantime, but here we are running an errand, doing the thing. And potentially tagging a bunch of different things this time and adding words and stuff. We'll see what happens, right? I mean, yeah. Yeah, but I think my stomach's making noises too, so I think I'm going to wrap it up. And I guess go get the beverage and then go back home. So, as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.